Hello, my name is Mark Titus. I'm the owner and operator of All American Backflow Prevention. Today I'm going to show you how to properly test the reduced pressure assembly. Okay. First thing we do is notify, identify, inspect, and observe. You notify your customer that you're there to do the test. You identify the assembly to make sure you're testing the correct assembly. You inspect the assembly, make sure there's nothing broken, nothing missing, and you observe the area around the assembly as well. Today we're testing a Fevco 860. It is a 1-inch, and this is the serial number. Okay. First thing we need to do is flush our test cocks. In this order, you open test cock number 4. You let it run. You open test cock number 3. Let it run. You open test cock number 2. Let it run. And you open test cock number 1, and then you shut test cock number 1. You shut test cock number 2. You shut test cock number 3. And then you shut test cock number 4. We're going to be using a Midwest 845 5-needle valve gauge. We're going to hook our high side hose to test cock number 2 because that's where the high pressure is. We're going to hook our low side hose to test cock number 3. That's where our low pressure is inside of the zone. And I like to hook the bypass hose loosely on test cock 4 so it's ready when we need it. Make sure all the valves are off on your gauge before you start. We're going to open our low side test cock number 3, and we're going to bleed the air out of our low side of the gauge. We're going to open the high side, and then we're going to open the high side, bleed on the gauge, and get the air out of the gauge, out of the high side. Get all the air out of the gauge, out of the hoses. Okay. We're going to reach over here, and we're going to shut off the number 4 test, or shut off valve. Then we shut our high side bleed valve and our low side bleed valve. First thing we're going to test is our relief valve opening point. To do that, we're going to open the high side control valve 1 turn, and that stays open the remainder of the test. We're going to open our low side control valve no more than a 1/4 turn. We're going to watch that gauge drop to the relief opening point of 3.4. We have a good relief valve, 3.4. Shut that low side control valve. We're done with that test. Come over here and open the bypass. Get the air out, shut off the bypass. Then we're going to tighten up the bypass hose, and we're going to open up test cock number 4. Okay. Now at this point we need to reestablish our zone, low side bleed on the gauge. Then we're going to open our bypass to test the second check. Gauge doesn't drop, second check is holding tight. Reestablish our zone, we'll get a final reading for the number 1 check. And we get a reading of 7.6. So we got a 3.4, 7.6, and a closed tight. I always like to write the apparent reading down. We got a 7.6, relief opened at 3.4. Second check is closed tight. Final reading for the first check is 7.6. We have a good assembly. Now we're going to shut things down, turn off our test cocks, get our customer back in service, turn on the number 2 shut-off valve, and we're going to remove our equipment. That completes our test.